Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. Here we go.
Good morning. I'm Assistant Sheriff Jim Seebach, and I'm here to brief you on additional details as we know them today about the officer-involved shooting that occurred on Wednesday, March the 1st, 2023. This is officer-involved shooting number 1 for 2023, non-fatal number 1. The same time last year, we were at 3 officer-involved shootings, with one of those being non-fatal. This event was initiated as a robbery call on March the 1st at 6:06 p.m. The officer-involved shooting occurred near the intersection of Stephanie and Sunset Road in Henderson. You can see the scenes to my left. The involved officers, first officer is Officer Justin Garcia. He is 26 years old. He has been with the LVMPD since 2018. In this incident, Officer Garcia was armed with a Glock 17 9mm equipped with a tactical light. The investigation revealed he fired 12 rounds during this incident. He is assigned to the Tourist Safety Division Convention Center Area Command. The second officer, Officer Jacob Barr, he is 29 years old and has been with the LVMPD since 2015. In this incident, Officer Barr was armed with the HK VP 9mm equipped with a tactical light. The investigation revealed he fired 4 rounds during this incident. He is assigned to the East Community Policing Division, Southeast Area Command. The suspect is identified as Lorraine Alvarado. She is a 31-year-old Hispanic female adult, 5'2", 130 pounds. She's pictured here to my left. Alvarado was armed with a Taurus G2C 9mm handgun. The investigation revealed that Alvarado did not fire the weapon. You can see the photos of the handgun to my left. Alvarado's charges are robbery with a deadly weapon, conspiracy to commit robbery with a deadly weapon, grand larceny of a motor vehicle, own or possess a gun by a prohibited person, assault with deadly weapon on a protected person, 2 counts, resisting a public officer with a firearm, 2 counts. Alvarado's prior felony convictions include a burglary from 2018, robbery with deadly weapon in 2016, conspiracy to commit robbery 2011, and an additional robbery charge in 2011. We were dealing with a person who's been arrested for 4 violent felony crimes in the past, who was most recently arrested in February of this year for theft, who received a plea deal and was subsequently released. The details of the officer-involved shooting are as follows. On March 1st, 2023, at approximately 6:06 p.m., LVMPD dispatch received a call from a business reporting an armed robbery near the 4600 block of West Sahara. The person reported stating that 3 females walked into the business and 1 was armed with a handgun. The suspect stole merchandise and fled the scene in a black Mercedes-Benz. One of the robbery suspects was later identified as Lorraine Alvarado, who was a suspect in the officer-involved shooting. A records check revealed that the Mercedes had been stolen from a local business on February 28th of 2023. A short time after the robbery, patrol officers located the stolen Mercedes in the area of Paradise Road and East Sahara and attempted to conduct a high-risk vehicle stop. Instead of stopping, the driver accelerated and drove away at a high rate of speed. A vehicle pursuit was then authorized and officers gave chase. The vehicle entered US 95 and traveled southbound towards Henderson. An officer deployed a tire deflation device on the freeway at 95 and Russell to disable the fleeing vehicle. The tire deflation device our agency uses is designed to safely release the air from the vehicle's tires while the driver maintains full control of the car. The stolen vehicle drove over the deflation device but continued to flee from officers. The vehicle then exited the freeway and drove westbound on Sunset Road. As the stolen vehicle traveled on Sunset, it collided with another vehicle at Stephanie Street. After the collision, Alvarado, who was a passenger in the Mercedes, got out of the car and ran northbound on Stephanie while holding a handgun. Officer Justin Garcia and Officer Jacob Barr chased Alvarado on foot. As Alvarado ran away from officers, she turned and pointed her gun towards Officer Garcia. This prompted Officer Garcia to discharge his duty weapon. Alvarado continued to run while holding her handgun. She then pointed her weapon towards Officer Barr. This action prompted both officers to discharge their duty weapons. Alvarado was struck by gunfire and fell to the ground. Officers were then able to take her into custody and summon medical personnel. Alvarado was transported to Sunrise Hospital where she was booked in absentia, and she is still currently there. I'll now play for you several body-worn camera videos depicting this officer-involved shooting.
401, 401. I got two running. I'm gonna shoot you. Get down, get down.
As you can see here, you'll see the suspect turn and point her firearm at our officers. There's this picture, and then one additional where the handgun is directly pointing towards our brave officer.
Gun. Drop it. Drop the gun. Drop the gun. Hey, hold.
You can see how she's running with the handgun in her hand while the officer tries to de-escalate by giving her commands to drop it. You can also see over here the handgun is still in her hand as she points it at her officer, and it slowly falls out of her hands after. There's a picture of the handgun that she's running with. Here's the picture of her pointing the handgun at our officer. And there's a picture of it still in her hand from his point of view. And that's the picture of the firearm as it fell to the ground. So actually, do me a favor. Go back to the, one more slide. One more. That one right there. I'd like everyone to take notice to that slide for a particular reason. Zoom back out to the normal of what it was. That picture, though, should aggravate this community. That picture is a suspect who has no regard for the consequences of her actions. And then in that same still picture, it shows two officers from Las Vegas Metro on the far right and the officer's perspective here. Those officers are displaying the bravery and courage, how they chase down, run towards a person that's pointing a firearm at them to take them into custody. It represents what our officers are up against each and every day, and their willingness to go after these bad people and these suspects that are willing to have no regard for their actions. And the courage that's displayed here is exemplary, and it represents the finest of our officers, and it, again, exemplifies what our officers deal with each and every day. So, with that, I'll take any questions.
Is she to the officers in this image?
I want to say that was roughly about 20 feet or less. Or 20 feet or less.
Thank you.
Sir, you said she was a passenger. Who was driving the stolen vehicle?
There was a total of 3 people in the car to include her. The other 2 have been arrested by our robbery detail. The driver was arrested, and we for the appropriate robbery charges and the accident that occurred, as well as the passenger that was still in the car was also charged. We focused this part of the briefing just on the officer-involved shooting part.
Was the second body camera from Officer Barr or Officer Garcia? The one where she's crouching?
The one where she's crouching, it's going to be from Officer Barr.
Thank you. And was it an attempted robbery or a successful robbery?
It was a successful robbery.
Thank you.
Do you have an update on the suspect's status in the hospital?
Still in critical condition in the hospital. Okay, thank you very much.
Was it a successful robbery or not? Like, I don't think that fucking matters. they committed a robbery. Well, they had it zoomed out a little bit more, I thought. Well, I thought there was a better aerial of the thing. Oh, here it is. So this is it's a pretty long track right here. So they started all the way over here, ran this away, ran down here, ran there, ran, turned back around, come back up here. Boom. That's a long stretch right there. I love how they talked about her prior criminal history. So used to, from what I remembered, so they've recently got a new sheriff. Even the older sheriff, I thought was a good sheriff, but they never seemed to talk about people's prior criminal histories. And some of the reporters would even ask during some of these briefings, and they just, like, they wouldn't talk about it. I always thought that was bullshit. I think that it is important for the public to know what these criminals' backgrounds are. Oftentimes, they have extensive criminal history. They are a stain on society. They do not need to be out with the rest of us. And I love how he points out that she's had multiple prior convictions, that she was just given a plea deal, etc. Like, she's a fucking shitbag. Like, no doubt, she's a shitbag. And I love how he points it out to everyone. That's important for the public to know. The public needs to know what kind of people our law enforcement are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. They don't need to be getting sympathy for someone like her. Oh, poor girl, poor thing. You know, she's struggling with her demons. Blah, 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 blah. No, she's a fucking piece of shit. She got what she deserved. It's unfortunate. It is unfortunate that she's still breathing. It's fortunate, I think she's fucking retarded. Magazine in the gun, a bullet cartridge facing the other direction. Like, that tells me that she probably loaded this damn thing in backwards. And then when she went to go rack it, or I don't know if she got a round off. I don't think she got a round off. Whenever she went to put this thing into action, boom, the gun jams on her. This is essentially a double feed at this point. The officers are lucky that she is incredibly stupid. Very lucky that she is incredibly stupid and doesn't know how to load a damn gun. Or else one of them could have taken a lucky hit to the face. Fucking wow. And that's obviously how they found the thing. Stupid. Dumb, man. Just dumb. The only other way, if she didn't load this damn thing in backwards, the only other way I could see this thing ending up like this, and we don't see another angle of it either. Like, this is the only angle that we can see. It looks like you can see another casing down in this way. We don't get to see it. Well, we see it from the ejection side, but we don't see it from a higher angle looking down into it. But it's possible that she, for whatever reason, either tried to fire and it didn't go bang, and she went to rack the gun, but she had her hand over the ejection port, and the cartridge was ejected normally, but it bounced off her hand and went back into the gun, right in here, and caused a malfunction. Or she just loaded it in backwards. I don't know. But if it was her putting her hand over the ejection port while racking it, that is one reason why you should not be putting your hand over the ejection port when you're racking the gun. Have your hand furthest to the rear of the slide as possible and rack that away. You want your ejection port clear of any obstruction, or else you can get casings or cartridges to go back into the gun. Obviously, they used a drone to capture this overhead image of the scene. This is where drones are. They're really cool in being able to photograph the scenes of accidents very well. Before, what a lot of agencies had to do was they had to call the fire department out and get their ladder truck. Get the tallest ladder truck they got, send an officer up to the top, and then they take pictures from the aerial view perspective from the top of that ladder truck. Now with drones, very easily just send a drone up and boom, snap an overhead picture of the scene and have a good visual representation of how that scene was laid out. All right.
401, 401.
So boom, they smash into them, push the victim's vehicle that away. They're right here, or bad guys are right here.
401.
I think that it would have been perfectly acceptable for this officer to continue driving and put his squad car into the passenger side of that vehicle, either with great amount of force or come to almost damn near stop, blocking the doors with his vehicle. So I'm guessing she was the slowest one of them all, because it's hard to see after the crash.
401, 401.
Like some of everything's being blocked with his face and the jerky movement. But you see what looks like one already taken off. And then, boom, now she's right there. So I guess she was the slow poke of them all. I don't know if she came out from the front passenger side of the vehicle or she was in the rear. I don't know. She could have been in the passenger side of the car and just couldn't get her door open and then fled out the driver's side of the door. But anyway, she's the slow poke of them all, I think.
I got 2 minutes.
And literally, too. I mean, if she loaded that round in backwards, yeah, she is the slow poke of them all. Fucking, her nickname needs to be fucking Caboose.
I'm gonna shoot you. Get down, get down.
As you can see here, you'll see the suspect turn and point her firearm at our officers. There's this picture, and then one additional where the handgun is directly pointing towards our brave officer. Directly pointing her firearm.
So I wish they would have provided the rest of this footage, because personally, I think he should have fired more than what he did. So if we look at the timestamp, we got 2:28,
I got 2 minutes.
and it's right at almost the 29 mark.
I'm gonna shoot you. Get down, get down.
As you can see here, you'll see the
So
suspect turn
228,
and
like
point her
58 or
firearm
something
at our
like that.
officers. There's this picture, and then one additional where the handgun is directly pointing towards our brave officer.
And now this is at 29 mark, a little bit after. So not that far after shots were fired. It's a full minute for sure after the first shots were fired, because the other guy was at 2:28, 58 something. And now we're at 2:29:06. And these times are all synced together on these body cams. Like, there's no, like, setting your watch. You know, your watch may be different from someone else's. Like, these are all, like, they're synced, right? So no difference there. But there is a 1 minute gap. So what happened in that 1 minute gap when that officer fired his gun at her? Did she get up and continue to run? Seems like it, because she's running when we get to this view. That officer, he should have continued to fire. 100%. He would have been justified under Tennessee versus Gardner. She was a substantial risk to the rest of the public. She pulled a gun on him, tried to kill him. She could try to kill someone else. She for sure should have had more force used against her. So, although that officer was chasing an armed person and then acted appropriately in that moment, I think that he failed to continue acting appropriately by not utilizing any more force against her.
Gun. Drop it, drop it, drop it. Drop the gun. Drop the gun. Drop the gun. Hey, hold.
You can see how she's running with the handgun in her hand while the officer tries to de-escalate by giving her commands to drop it.
Tries to de-escalate by giving commands. No, fuck that. You de-escalate this kind of situation by shooting. That's how you de-escalate a situation like this. I cannot fucking stand this over-reliance, this overbearance of de-escalate with your verbals, de-escalate with your verbals. You just can't fucking talk to some people. You can't talk some people down out of shit. Obviously, she had been given enough verbal commands at this point. She'd been shot at. She should have dropped the gun to begin with. At this point, there is no more fucking talking to her. None. Zilch. Not a fucking thing. They are lucky that she was so incompetent that she couldn't have a loaded gun correctly. She could have easily popped one of them in the fucking face. Because they were taking too long. At this point, taking too damn long to use the appropriate amount of force. They are lucky they did not get shot and killed. Lucky. Her incompetence is what is realistically her incompetence is why they're alive. 100%. One of them for sure is only alive today because she's a fucking incompetent dumb bitch. There's no talking at this point. None. This is malfeasance and dereliction of duty.
You can also see over here the handgun is still in her hand as she points it at her officer, and it slowly falls out of her hands after. Gun.
Drop the gun! Right home.
And even then, she don't get just a couple rounds. She gets more. She should have got more rounds than that.
You can see how she's running with the handgun in her hand while the officer tries to de-escalate by giving her commands to drop it. You can also stand.
Right, hold on. Drop it, drop it, drop it. Drop the gun. Drop the gun. Drop the gun. Right, hold on.
You can see how she's running with the handgun in her hand while the officer tries. And that's the picture of the. And there's a picture of it still. There's a picture of the handgun that she's running with. Here's the picture of her.
So this officer, did he fire during this part? I don't know if he did or not. We don't see footage from it. But if he did not fire, why did he not fire? He for sure needs to be shooting. She's pointing the gun at him. She's distracted by him at this point. He is in a great position to really get good sights on target and squeeze off rounds. Because he ain't got the gun pointed at him at this point. He's in a great position to pop her. Like I said, I don't know if he fired or not, but if he didn't, that's wrong. He's in a perfect spot to do work. Should have lit her ass up.
Pointing the handgun at our officer. And there's a picture of it still in her hand from his point of view. And that's the picture of the firearm as it fell to the ground. So actually, do me a favor. Go back to the one more slide. One more. That one right there. I'd like everyone to take notice to that slide for a particular reason. Zoom back out to the normal.
All right. So that's it on this video. Not much else to talk about. They don't provide a whole lot to us. They're kind of short with what they provide. I wish they would have provided a lot more lengthier view of what was going on and a little bit after, because that would have offered some more talking points. But yeah, if you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.